Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the instant match reaction, as you can tell by the massive smile on my face. Everton 1, Leeds United 0 in the Premier League today. Another massive win for Everton Football Club, a win that takes us away from the relegation zone, actually puts Leeds United into the relegation zone. Everton currently sitting 16th on 21 points, just 3 points away from Leicester City, who are currently in 14th position as well. So a really important win that was today. We spoke yesterday during the game preview and spoke about the importance of the 3 points today and how losing this game, could have a really negative effect on just the overall feel at the moment around the football club. And that was sort of, I suppose, heightened when you had a little look at some of the results around the league today. The likes of Nottingham Forest picking up points, Southampton with a big win away from home as well, Bournemouth with a big win at Wolves. It was always, it was always going to just add to the emphasis of how important this game of football was, and it really was a must-win for both teams today, and I thought Everton thoroughly stepped up to the occasion once again. Obviously different to the game against Arsenal because the opposition we were playing today was significantly worse. For me, Leeds United, and I mean absolutely no disrespect by saying this, but Leeds United are the worst team I've seen at Goodison Park in a long time. They offered absolutely nothing other than a woeful goalkeeping performance and a little bit of, I suppose, fight or passion, if you want to call it that, a slight bit. But in terms of what they offered to the game, in terms of their output, it was very little. And don't get me wrong, Everton have not been great recently, and there's been plenty of Everton performances I've been able to say that about, but if I was a Leeds United fan, I would be worried at the moment, because that was, considering the importance of that game, it was a really poor performance from them. But I don't care. I honestly couldn't give a shit. I couldn't care less whether Leeds United fans think they were great or whether they think they were awful. I'm not bothered. All I'm bothered about is the fact that Everton turned up today, put a shift in, battled, worked hard, and obviously ended up winning the game. And of course, we've ultimately won the game thanks to an absolute world-class strike by Seamus Coleman, a vintage Seamus Coleman strike, by the way, must I add. Because I already know we'll see a lot of fans across social media who don't support Everton or don't watch Everton, who will label that as a sort of one-hit wonder. He'll never hit another one like that again. And, he mightn't ever hit another one like that again because of his age and because of his situation in terms of his position in the team. But that is vintage Seamus Coleman. I remember him scoring goals against Southampton like that. I remember him scoring one against Palace like that. Seamus Coleman from that right-hand side, notoriously over the years, has been a threat. And of course, in recent years, we haven't seen that because of a lack of pace or a lack of stamina or a lack of, maybe confidence to get forward. But, Seamus said it himself in his post-game interview. He was running as fast as his legs would take him, and he was asked a simple question: did you mean it? Did you not mean it? And listen, ultimately it's ended up with Everton winning the game, at the end of the day. So I don't care whether it was just a really bad cross that ultimately has gone in, or whether he's meant it and it's an absolute world-class strike. But Seamus himself said he saw the goalkeeper off the line and he thought, what, if I can get this on target, there's a chance of it going in, and that's exactly what he did. And what a player to get the winning goal in what a situation as well. Seamus deserves that, more than anybody. And listen, I've had my opinion on Seamus Coleman over the years, and I still have a very strict opinion on Seamus Coleman, and it doesn't change because of today's game. But there's one thing that nobody could ever say, and including myself, and that is the doubt or question the commitment of that man's that man's commitment to our football club, that man's love to our football club, that man's effort to our football club. It's ultimately it's disappointing what we've seen over the last couple of years with Seamus in terms of what he once was compared to what he is now, but that was a little throwback of just how good of a footballer Seamus Coleman is, and ultimately, he's Everton, isn't he? He's Mr. Everton, he's our captain, he's our leader, and he's ultimately important players and leaders and players that go down in history of football clubs step up in big moments, and although this isn't the last game of the season, and there's still a lot of football to be played, and this game doesn't determine, the outcome of the season or anything like that. This felt like a really, really, really important game, and that feels like it's going to be a moment that we look back on and we go, remember when Seamus Coleman hit that one from an impossible angle and managed to get it in and picked us up a really, really important 3 points. And that's what it was today. It's 2 out of 2 for Sean Dyche at Goodison Park. Another 3 points, 6 points out of a potential 9. The only game losing, obviously, being a Merseyside derby at Anfield. And we said leading into this game, and even a couple of weeks ago before the Arsenal game, we said, the Arsenal and Liverpool games were pretty much free hits, and the hard work really starts when we play Leeds at home and then Villa at home, etc. And this was always going to be the game that we needed to go out and we needed to win. And, whilst it wasn't an unbelievable blow them away performance, and, as I said, it was only a 1-0 win. It was a 1-0 win very similarly to the Arsenal game that could have easily been 3 or 4. And it really could have. I mean, when you look at the opportunities that we had, okay, we've scored a worldie. Some people will say, well, we need to stop relying on, worldies or set pieces, and it was the same argument after the Arsenal game. But, if Abdoulaye Doucouré has got a left foot in any way, shape or form, then he has a comfortable one-on-one against one of the worst goalkeepers I've ever seen at Goodison Park that you would put money on him in finishing, but instead he makes a bad decision and he turns in. Neil Maupay had one off the line, James Tarkowski had one off the line, Amadou Onana put one in the stands that he should have done so much better with. We had a moment where Meslier was on the floor and 3 or 4 Everton players had opportunities to shoot and they didn't. We had the couple in the second half that went close as well. We had opportunities to really, really sort of bury Leeds United under the hatchet, and they didn't have anything. They didn't have any opportunity that caused any real issue to Jordan Pickford whatsoever. And, okay, we've only managed to win 1-0, and that's our biggest problem, is creating those opportunities and then converting them. But similarly to Arsenal on another day, it could have been 2 or 3-0, maybe 3 or 4-0, and obviously the scoreline would have looked much better. But I don't care. Preferably, I don't care. It is a point of concern, and we all know it's a point of concern. We all know the lack of goals at the top end of the pitch is a worry. But, if you were to say to me, Cam, you win every game at Goodison between now and the end of the season 1-0, I'll take it all day long. As long as we're winning games of football, that's all that matters. And we won this game of football today. We thoroughly deserve to win this game of football today. And again, there was some really, really, really good, outstanding performances. Seamus Coleman, as I mentioned, not just the goal, but his overall performance. I thought he done really, really well today. And I was doubting Seamus Coleman because of the the quality of Leeds United's forwards, and certainly their threat going forward in recent times, especially the young lad. Not always it, or not always he's been fantastic recently. So, I was one of those Evertonians yesterday that sat in the preview and said, I'm not too sure about Seamus. Maybe I'd take him out and maybe put, Aldgate there for a little bit of pace, or Godfrey there for a little bit of pace. But Seamus done really, really well. Obviously, he scored the goal, which was an absolute worldie. But other than the goal, he done really, really well to deal with the pressure and to deal with the Leeds United's forward threat. I thought the centre half were much better, much more confident, much more seemingly assured at the back, and okay, they didn't have an awful lot to do in terms of the complete lack of any forward threat that Leeds United had, but they still did what they needed to do. And ultimately, as Wunderlich says, pacifying Willie not always the assignment, and we passed. Absolutely, mate, absolutely. He was out the game completely, to the point where he was trying to fight towards the end of the game, which was a little bit baffling. But yeah, I thought the centre half done everything they needed to do. Mikalenko was hot and cold. I thought Garner was hot and cold off the ball, absolutely excellent on the ball, a little bit sloppy again. But ultimately, we worked, and we will have games where individual players, don't all have a 10 out of 10 performance, aren't all absolutely unbelievable, aren't all breathtaking. But as long as they all give 110% and they battle and they run and they fight for every ball. McNeil was the same today. I didn't think Dwight McNeil was very good at all today. I don't think he had any impact going forward. I don't think he was particularly a threat. He put a couple of good balls into the box, but I don't think he done an awful lot today. However, he was fighting, he was battling, he was constantly running for every ball. And in that last 10 or 15 minutes when, it was all about hanging on and seeing the game out, he was making himself a nuisance. He was putting himself about. He was throwing himself, getting in the face of them Leeds United players. Even the little situation in the second half, which Meslier literally throws a punch and doesn't get sent off for, which is baffling to me. That was Dwight McNeil at the forefront of that, getting in people's faces, winding them up, trying to get in their ear. So, he had his part to play. Do you know what I thought was brilliant today? And this might be controversial and people mightn't agree with me, but I thought Neal Maupay was brilliant today. I really, really do. And I think what Neal Maupay did today was exactly what Dominic Calvert-Lewin did against Arsenal. He made himself a nuisance. He made himself a problem for the centre halves. He made himself a handful, and in front of goal he might not necessarily have been absolutely unbelievable. He had a couple of shots on target that he worked well for himself. As I said, he had one off the line, and I think had that header not been cleared off the line, I think we'd be sitting here talking about Neal Maupay as an absolute standout for man of the match, because I think his overall performance, as I mentioned, was very, very, very good. He put himself about, he battled, he worked hard, he constantly running at players. His hold-up play was good, he was bringing other people into the game, and as I said, very similar to what Dom did against Arsenal, which was exactly what we needed today. And yeah, look, for me it was everything we wanted. Don't get me wrong, I would have liked maybe 2 or 3-0, so we could be sitting here talking about a really dominant Everton performance, but Leeds United were never in that game today. They were never, ever, ever in that game. It was a really, really poor display by them, but I don't care. Meslier got what he deserved by acting a tit for the entirety of the game. He got what he deserved by being embarrassed, absolutely embarrassed. If I was Leeds United, I'd take him out, to be honest with you, because Joel Robles is a much better goalkeeper. But again, that was exactly what we wanted. We wanted 3 points. We needed 3 points. They're the types of games that under Frank Lampard we lost. And that's not a dig at Frank Lampard, and that's not a mute point before people say, oh, well, why are you bringing Frank Lampard up? That is a fact. The games against the teams that are in and around us, in our position in the Premier League, under Frank Lampard, we lost those games. Even those games at home against Southampton, against Wolves, against Leicester, we lost those games at home. Forest, we very nearly lost. We got a point in the last minute or whatever it was. And that was always going to be Sean Dyche's task. His task wasn't necessarily, can you go out and beat Arsenal? Because that was, a bonus, really. His task wasn't necessarily, could you go out and beat Liverpool in the derby? His task was, can you win the games against the teams that are in and around our position, especially at Goodison Park? And we did that today, and as I said, okay, it was 1-0, and it might look very tight on paper, and this, that, and the other. But ultimately, we were the much better team. We were much more comfortable. Leeds had very little in the game, and as I said, on another day, it could have been 3 or 4-0 to Everton. It really could have been 3 or 4-0, and ultimately it wasn't that, which is disappointing, but we won the game, which for me is simply all that matters. And as I said, that was Sean Dyche's task for me when he was brought in as Everton manager. Obviously, the overall goal was, can you keep Everton in the Premier League? But the sort of short-term goal was, can you win these games that we haven't been able to win? And granted, Leeds for me are a worse side than Southampton or Wolves or teams like that. But they were the opponent today, and they were the team we needed to beat, and we did, and we went out and we beat them. And we go to Villa next week. Villa again, a decent side, done okay today against Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal ran away with it towards the end, but for a large part of that game, they were in that game, getting stuck in, battling. We've got to go out and we've got to beat Villa next week. The performances have got to be better. Every individual's got to be on top form. I don't think every individual was on top form today, but the effort, the desire, the commitment, and an absolute world-class finish by Mr. Everton himself has seen us through that game. But again, it's sort of, I do think it's important to contextualise the game in itself. I sat here after Arsenal and I said, for everybody saying we only won on a set piece, we did only win on a set piece, but had we have not scored that set piece, we'd have all been sat here talking about Abdoulaye Doucouré's header that he missed or Dominic Calvert-Lewin's chances. It's the same today. Had Seamus Coleman not scored that worldie, we'd have all been sitting here talking about, Doucouré's chance one-on-one, or, the chances that got cleared off the line, or the fact that, we had about 4 Everton players had the ball at their feet when Leeds' goalkeeper had just threw himself on the floor and none of them took a shot. We'd be sitting here talking about those chances. So there's chances we're creating. We just need to be a little bit more clinical in front of goal. And for me, we need to be a little bit more confident as well. We really, really do, because there's times during games where chances are falling to players, whether it be, Iwobi or McNeil. McNeil's really bad for it. Or Mopé. Pardon me. There's chances that are falling to players, and I don't even think it's a case of the players can't finish. I think it's a case of the players are too scared to have a go. And I was just talking about this in the pub with the lads then. I don't think there's many situations in which an Everton player could have a shot and they would be booed for it, or they would be, people might groan and go, oh, if it's it miles over the bar. Or people might be a little bit upset if there's a better option and a player chooses to shoot, out of greed. But if you've got the ball on the edge of the box and there's no other option on and you have a shot, even if it goes woefully wide, I don't think many people are going to be that bothered, because we're just happy to see players having shots. We're just happy to see players, having a go. And I think at the moment there's a problem with confidence in the team, and that's something that Sean Dyche has to get his finger on, because there seems to be a problem with confidence amongst players when they get the ball in good areas. Having a go and having a shot and taking that risk. But we won the game, and ultimately that's all that matters. We're out the relegation zone, and as I said yesterday, a win was massive for, just for the sort of, to be able to look at the table, see that we're out of it. Of course, the points totals and stuff, we're still very much in a relegation battle, and this win doesn't solve every problem, but just to be able to sit here, on Monday and look at the table and go, oh, look at that, we're out of this now, is massive. So yeah, a big win. Again, another performance that, we can all sort of be proud of. Definitely things to build on, but a win is what we wanted. A win is what we've got, and we can now go out and celebrate that and have a nice weekend enjoying that win as well. There you go. If you have enjoyed it, please do leave a like. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. If you're watching this YouTube video, leave your thoughts down below and we'll get involved with as many of them. But yeah, there you go. Play ratings will be up shortly, so look out for that one. Big thank you for watching. Up the fucking toffees. Can you believe Seamus Coleman cost 60,000 Great British pounds, by the way? 60,000 Great British pounds Seamus Coleman cost. Madness. Captain, leader, all of the above. As you all know my opinions on Seamus' situation, you all know I'm very open with it. I always say it's not Seamus' fault and I have no issue with Seamus. But today he rolled back the years and ultimately he deserved that. And I love the fella. I absolutely love him. But big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. And we'll see you later.